Hi everyone, this is Jordan with Torch Prep. The purpose of this video is to walk you through the student practice site, some of the options that are available to you in the classroom, as well as walk you through some of the online tools that are part of the online OST. So, first, where we are is the Ohio portal, where you can access the practice site. Any of the links that I use in this video will be available to you. But first, if you go to the student practice site and you click on this, for the purposes of this tutorial, we're just going to use guest users because we just want to see how to use the tools and what is available. So we sign in. I'm going to choose 10th grade because that's going to show all of the high school assessments that are available. Now, one thing I want to point out is there are released items, there are practice tests, and there are sample tests for each of the Ohio State tests. So there's English Language Arts 2 and English Language Arts 1. What the released items are items that were used as a part of whatever assessment this was. So the Spring 2017 ELA 2 test, these are some of the items that were a part of that assessment. The difference between 2017, 18, and 19 is that every year that a test has been out, they release more items. So you're going to find more released items in the 2017 items or documents than you will find in the 2019. But what is going to be most valuable is going to be the practice test. The practice test has all of the features and tools and will look very similar to what a student will encounter on test day. So I'm going to click on the English Language Arts 2 practice test, not the sample test, but the practice test. These are all of the tools that are available. Recommend leaving them on so that students have the option for them. The only thing that may be something you'd want to note for a student is the ability to change the background and the font. So if you have a student who had a concussion, or I know when I was teaching, there were students who had sensitivity to their computer screens, that maybe the reverse contrast would be best for them, where instead of black on white, it's more white on black. But for the purposes of right now, I'm going to leave it on black and on white. So we select that. I'm going to begin the test now. We'll wait a second for that. And here we are. Here is a practice English Language Arts 2 test. The features I'm going to show you in this video are features that apply to the geometry test as well as the biology test. So I want to make you aware of these all, and there will be separate videos for each of those other subjects. So there will be an English video, a biology video, as well as a geometry video. So the first feature I want to show you is the clock. The clock is going to be a count up. If it happens to stress out a student, they can click it and it goes away. So that's one feature available. The next feature is highlighting. So if a student wants to highlight a portion of the text, they select it with their cursor. And there are two options. They can click right here, and there's the ability to highlight the section. Or if they want to highlight, they select it with their cursor, and they can right-click, and they have the same option available, highlight selection. Now, there are two ways to get rid of a highlight. They can either highlight whatever they want to delete, and I'm going to right-click, and you can see Remove Highlight. Or if they want to get rid of the highlights altogether, they can either right-click or choose this option from right up here and reset the highlighting. And that's going to remove all highlights. So that's one of the tools available on the test. Another tool is masking. So the masking tool, they can click and drag down if they want to get rid of a portion of the text. Now, once they've already released that, they can't really move it around or edit it, but they can delete it. If they want to take notes, they can click on Notes and type with their keyboard. If If they want to save that, so if they click cancel, it's not going to be saved and they can't access it later. So they need to save and close that. But something to be aware of with notes is that they will not be able to copy and paste their notes. So anything that they write in here is going to stay here. They can't copy and paste it to use for a short answer later. Another tool that's up here is the line reader. So let's say they want to choose the line reader. What this does is it selects one line at a time. They can either click whichever line they want to select. It can be used kind of as a way to keep their place as they read along. So right now I'm using the up arrow, or I can use the down arrow just to move around and select the text. So the next feature is the zoom in versus zoom out. So I can zoom in to magnify the text, or I can zoom out, and this is the furthest that you can zoom out for the text. That's most of these general tools. I do want to bring you over to, if I'm working on the answering of questions, there are more options. So again, you can click this to drop down, or you can right click and the same options are available. There are tutorials if a student isn't quite sure how to answer this type of questions. This is multiple choice. The tutorial would walk them through, without audio, how to answer a multiple choice question. They also have the option to mark something for review. So let's say they want to skip, they're not quite sure about their answer choice, they can always mark it to come back to later. So right here it folds down that question type to let them know that it's marked, as well as if you go up here to the left-hand side where it says items, it has marked that question as well. I do want to draw your attention as I've pulled this up. You can see the flag indicates if it's marked, and this triangle indicates if it has not been answered. So as soon as I answer question 1, and I go to the items, you'll see that the flag is still there because it still is marked, but the answer has been selected, so it is no longer unanswered. Something I want to point out is that on some questions it will ask students to do two things. Like for instance here, it says select 2 details from passage 2. Well, if I select only one option, you're going to see that it looks as if question 15 has been answered. So students need to be really careful that they're following the directions and they're selecting 2 for an item, even though it will look as if it is answered. The last thing I want to point out is before submitting a test, given that this is a practice test, something that's available to students is if they want to see their real-time progress, they actually can score an item. And it's going to tell them how many points were possible on this question and if they got the question answered correctly. So in this one, I've missed the question thus far. This could be helpful if you want students to go question by question and see how they do and track their progress. Or if we were to end the test, so I'm going to select yes, I want to continue to the next page. Before submitting, it is going to warn students what their progress on the test was. So this is going to say you had one question marked, you have all these questions you didn't answer. Are you really sure you want to submit the test? If you are not sure and you're like, oh, I forgot to answer question 2, they can go back, click on question 2, and it's going to bring them back there for them to answer that question again. So they can go back, answer that question. Again, I'm going to go back to the end of the test and show you submitting it. So once you submit a practice test, it's going to show the questions and the rationale for why they got the score that they received. Now, it does not scale their score. So this was not a full-length test. Usually on a full-length test, there's going to be more like 40 items, whereas this one only had 20. But it will at least track and show whether students got partial credit, full credit, and why or why not they did not get the answer correct. That is a student practice test. So that is it when it comes to general things about the OSTs and the online platform. I can promise you that the other videos will be much shorter than this one, so stick with me. But I appreciate your time and working through that, and your ability and willingness to help your students.